You are listening to the sounds of the Right On Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of On the Record Jams, brought to you by the Right On Network. I'm AJ.
And I'm Arthur.
Hey, Arthur, we're back. We're under a tornado watch, but we're going to do this anyway. We're talking about some music, man. You and I were coming together to talk about some cool records, right?
Of course. One more time. I really like these two that we got coming up. I like that we're getting together a little bit quicker this time. Things worked out. And so, yeah, we got two really good ones coming up, and both of them after 2000. We don't normally do that, do we?
No. So we have two really good ones. Both of these records came out after the 2000s, and in celebration of these artists, I'm wearing my Darryl Strawberry Mets jersey. Because these artists, they're Mets fans.
Oh, well, gee.
How about that?
There you go. Tying it all the way in.
Yeah, the connection. So people that are helping us make this connection, they're the reasons why this particular podcast exists. I want to thank our Patreon subscribers. They went to patreon.com/rightonnetwork. Starting off with Clinton Robinson, the great Clinton Robinson, the wonderful Jordan Holt, April 5K, listen to her on Straight Out of the Federation of Blake 7 podcast, and the Manhattan Project, where she talks about Friends and Seinfeld. We have Bill Beer of the Bat Pod, Chris Pine 1, Rick from Jeff and Rick Present, Unpacking the Power of the Power Pack, Justin Steiner, he's on Substack, Shoe Fly Pie, talking about some music, so check him out, Justin Steiner. We have the Irredeemable Shag. He does Once Upon a Geek, Justice League International Bwahaha podcast, Who's Who Revisited, JSA in the 1990s. Go to Fire and Water podcasts and check them out. I go there because I'm a patron of the Cheers cast. Remember that old show, Cheers?
Of course.
We have, oh yeah, it's wonderful. It's a classic. Laurel Phillips. She's Mountain Flower 1, MTN, FLWR 1, Mountain Flower 1 without the vowels. Listen to her on Feathers and Foes, a Birds of Prey podcast, as well as the Huntress podcast, talking about some Helena Wayne and Helena Bertinelli adventures. And we have over in Australia, Paul Hicks. Hello, Paul. Hope you're doing well out there. Paul Hicks does Waiting for Doom, DCOCD, The Gary Show, and Dial Left for Flanger. We have Mark Blair, the great Mark Blair, friend of the Right On Network, Cluck Trent. We have Tim Price. He does the Outcasters podcast, talking about Batman and the Outsiders, Mike W. Barr, Jim Aparo, DC Comics in the 1980s. We have the sound of the Right On Network. You're listening to his music now. Delvin Sims. We have Alan Wright. He's Bold Outlaw on the websites. He's a Robin Hood enthusiast. Talked about Robin Hood and history and pop culture. And you can also hear him talking about the tales of Blake 7 on the Straight Out of the Federation podcast. So guys, we truly appreciate it. Thank you for this. You're helping us go and grow in the year 2025. So I'm going to start us off, Arthur, and I'm bringing the record by this 5-piece band. These guys from Manhattan, New York City, New York, The Strokes. This record is called Under Control. It's the 7th song on their second album, Room on Fire, that came out in 2003. All right.
Yeah, this is a very, 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 very good one. You put me on to this years ago. Can't remember exactly when, but like you said, it was, we were talking before we started. Man, this was one of those cases, and we do this with each other and, you know, have other friends, and you do too, where somebody just comes up to you out of nowhere and says, you got to watch this, or you got to listen to this, or man, check this out when you get a chance. And if they catch you at the wrong time, there's no telling when you'll get around to it. But in this case, you told me to do it, and I was like, yeah, all right, I'm doing it. And I believe it was the first 2 albums that I listened to and I had a good old time. And this song was certainly one of them.
You know, I guess probably the time where I told you, hey, you should probably check this out. Maybe there were only 2 albums out. That's how long ago this was. So, let's take it back to the late 90s, early 2000s. So in the late 90s, I'm listening to the Backpack Rappers, right? I'm listening to all that stuff. Sound bombing, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Wu-Tang Clan, all this. And I was listening to a lot of power pop indie rock. So that's where my mindset was. And then we get to 2001 and I graduate from college, all this stuff. It's August 11th. I graduate and all that. I move out to Austin, Texas. And I remember maybe our mutual friend Kevin or someone, they were like, hey, check this out. And there was the Strokes. And I didn't really get what they were doing. I was like, what is this? Sounds like a demo. Like, what is this? And like every once in a while, I would maybe run into it. And then I was in Austin. I'm a new young adult. And their video came on, MTV2 or whatever. It was for their first single, Last Night. And I was like, oh, what's this? And I was like, oh, okay, they're doing like some type of retrofit type thing, right, to the 70s. Like they're looking dusty on purpose. I was like, okay, I get it. But my mindset musically was on something else. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I would see it every once in a while. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And I remember when I listened to the first album, Is This It? I remember kind of thinking like, as I would play it while driving, I felt like, wait a minute, did I hear this song before? Or is this the first time hearing it? Meaning like, I think I was getting like song 3 and 6 or 2 and 4 mixed up. Like, wait, did I just hear this or what? Because again, I couldn't understand what they were doing at the time. And then slowly but surely, I was really getting into it. And then the second album comes out in 2003. And when I heard this record, Under Control, that's when I went, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna like these guys forever. Like I was already liking it. And then when they did that, I was like, oh, so, before I go any further, Arthur, I'm going to ask you, this song, Under Control, is this an R&B record?
It's more of like a blues record to me.
Is it a soul record or is it a blues record?
To me, it's more like a blues record, like maybe like a light blues record, which I guess would make it a soul record depending on who you ask. But the rhythm of it, the storytelling piece, it takes us back to that conversation we were having in our earlier episodes about Motown and just the 60s and early 70s where before things got indulgent, right? And before everybody started doing 7-minute songs, it was like, hey, you got about 3 minutes and you need to tell us what you got going on and get out of there. And they managed to pull that off in a really efficient, but also kind of powerful way between the vocal, between the instrumentation. Like we talk about packing a lot of good stuff into a short period of time. Like to me, that's what happened on this. And you're talking 3 minutes and they killed it.
I remember, again, this was like 2001. It's that MTV2 time where it was very wide open. And I remember one time one of the VJs, the video jockeys, they were doing like this preamble to introduce the video for the Strokes. And it really went into like, man, these guys have been so hype. We don't know like if this is real or is it fake. Like it was this whole big thing about like how these were these trust fund babies. Now I guess they would call them Nepo babies, and they bought their way in and they burned out. Like by the time all these people are writing all these good things about them, but are people really going and seeing these shows, or are these just journalists trying to make something happen? It was all this hoo-ha. And I like, there's this Beatles documentary, the anthology, where I believe it came on like regular television too, but you can get it as like 5 discs. And I remember Paul McCartney said in one of the interviews, he said, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, we were a good little band. Like if you take the magic away and all this stuff and that, like if you just like, look, we're on the rooftop playing, we're a good little band. And I think at the end of the day, where whatever you want to say about these guys or whatever it is they're doing, I think if you just stop and just listen to the music, this is a good little band. So I'm going to read these lyrics. This is from Under Control. Again, this is on Room on Fire, produced by Raphael Gordon, who produced the first record where Julian Casablancas, the lead singer, and lead songwriter of the Strokes, he told the producer, like, hey, if you can make us sound like people in the future that are listening to something from the past, that's what we want to sound like. And the first record, I guess, like, they're trying to give it to you like it's this live feeling. And then people are saying with the second album, like, oh, it's just more of the same. I'm like, no, this is two different feels, but whatever. You got Nigel. Okay, so Nigel Godrich, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he produced a lot of the Radiohead albums.
Okay.
So for the second album, he worked with the Strokes for a little bit. Like, hey, let's see if this can work out. And it didn't. But I'm interested in, will that stuff ever get unearthed? Because I'm interested in, how did that go down? I think I remember reading an article, and I'm talking way back then. We're talking like over 15 years ago. Shoot, at this point, if it's 2025, maybe this was 20 years ago. You went out, so you probably said something. I probably talked over you. I don't know. But they said that when they were producing with Nigel Godrich, that he was pretty much like close to tears. Like, man, you guys are messing this up. Like, just do it. And I guess they just didn't see eye to eye. So in the end, they didn't go with Nigel Godrich, and they went back to Raphael Gordon. All right. Raphael Gordon. So these are the lyrics. I don't want to waste your time. I just want to say, I got to say, we worked hard, darling. We don't have no control. We're under control. I don't want to do it your way. I don't want to give it to you your way. I don't want to know. I don't want to change your mind. I don't want to change the world. I just want to watch it go by. I just want to watch you go by. We were young, darling. We don't have no control. We're out of control. And then we get the guitar solo by Albert Hammond Jr., whose dad, Albert Hammond, wrote the song Never Rains in Southern California.
Woo.
All those years ago. Yeah. And then we're out of the guitar solo. I don't want to do it your way. I don't want to do it your way. I don't want to give it to you your way. I don't want to know. I don't want to change your mind. I don't want to waste your time. I just want to know you're all right. I got to know you're all right. You are young, darling, for now, but not for long, under control.
Woo!
So, yeah. I send you 2 clips of this because that's what we do. Like, we go like, hey, okay, so for the next episode, we'll send each other, a YouTube clip or something. And this is the first time I've ever done this since we've been recording the show. This time, instead of sending you the studio recording of the record, I sent you 2 live versions of them. One, it was maybe in 2014, they were at some music festival. And then another one in 2003. At the time, they performed this on Conan O'Brien when he did like Late Night or whatever all those years ago. Yep. And they did some type of residency where like every Tuesday of that month, they went on there to perform. What did you think about those?
I loved them. I loved every performance. I must have listened to 4 or 5 different live performances of this song. I was like, once I got those 2, I was like, there's got to be more. The song is from 2003. Let's see how many different ways and times they performed it. Did they have other people with them? And yep, they did. And it was a good time every time.
Oh, and that's right. I also sent you the a live version of them where Julian Casablancas is going back and forth with Harmar Superstar.
Yes. I loved it.
So the reason why I sent you the live versions of this is because I think this band is dangerous. And I think the way their music is designed, it's just designed to me to be heard live. Like, that was the whole charm of it, where they're doing this trick with the first album. I guess you could say second album too, is, hey, it's like you're in the room with us listening to it. Like, we're performing it live for you. Like, that's the little trick. And then when they get to the third album, it's overproduced. And I mean that in a good way. But these first 2 albums, I don't know if they're being kitschy or whatever, but that's part of the charm. Like, it sounds like we're live, but they're not. They're putting a lot of work into it. There's some engineering going on, but they're trying to fool you as if, and like the first album is not lo-fi, but, they might kill me for this. with the first album, I wish that, because I think there've been some rights selling going on, because I've been hearing their music like in a grocery store or whatever. I wish they would remaster it, only because if you go to some place where you can put money in the jukebox, the music doesn't blast. Yeah. Because they recorded it so lo-fi.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really. Now the third album on, yes, it's loud. Even the second album is loud, but the first album, it gets kind of muddied up in the speakers or whatever. But yeah, this song, like, is it soul? Is it like, it's deceptively simple, but it's a lot going on. He's crooning. Julian Casablancas is crooning. You got Nick Valencia and Albert Hammond Jr. with the dueling guitars. We have Nikolai Fraiture on bass, and then that opening drum hits by Fabrizio Moretti.
Look, man, I don't know what it is, but let's talk about these choruses. We worked hard, darling. We don't have no control. Yes. We're under control. Then we get to we were young, darling. We don't have no control. We're out of control. We're out of control, okay? So instead of under control, out of control. And then we get to the end after the relationship that this song is talking about is either ending or has ended. And it's like, you are young, darling, for now, but not for long, under control. Dude, come on, man. If you're trying to make it sound like you're not putting thoughts into these songs and you're just winging it, like you talk about their thing is that they tried to just sound like they were doing something or whatever, but that's simple but really good songwriting. You're progressing the song within that 3-minute time frame, and you're making things happen just by changing a few words in a chorus. And it's so catchy and it's so on time that when the chorus is coming, because the song structure is real. Like, the song structure is straight ahead. And so when that chorus is coming, if you've heard enough music. And then when you change those words around, and I remember pointing this out to you when I sent you the text about how much I love this doggone song, it's like that last chorus, they cut it. Like, they cut it and he gets all the way back to under control. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then you break down that third verse where he kind of puts the whole song together to kind of summarize it. Like, hey, I've told you kind of why I want to end this, but, I don't want to change your mind. I don't want to waste your time. I just want to know you're all right. I've got to know you're all right. Dude, that's efficient, great songwriting, period. I don't know what genre it is. I don't care. Jamming. Is jamming a genre for music? This is in the jamming genre of music.
Jamming is a genre.
Jamming is a new genre of music, and I'm going to submit this to be in that genre. You got to go to if you had a record store still, you'd have to go to the jamming section to get to this album again, because that's what this is.
And I believe on the call sheet, as far as like, with the playlist, I think maybe this went away for a bit and then it came back, and I believe it's here to stay. I think every time they perform, they're going to perform some. They're going to perform some under control. This, I just think it's easy to like. Fabrizio's drums, definitely, like, because I don't know anything about music and technical stuff, but it does sound it does sound like some R&B soul, but they garage rocked it.
Right, but
but someone definitely could just cover this and easily make it a soul record.
Right, like it should have been covered by now, like a few different times, especially as much as people make breakup music. And it's just really, really good. And again, it's such an efficient use of the words and the vocal performance. Cause he's got the modification on his voice for the studio version of the album, but it's like, you can still hear it coming out. It's almost like, for me, like what he did on this second album and a little bit less on the first album, like whatever tricks they did to make it sound, whatever you want to call it, lo-fi, live, like pseudo live. And you can think about all the different genres that came after this period of time where people were trying to do weird things with the mix of their voices. I mean, we just had Neon Indian and the whole chill wave, and everything sounded like it was semi-muffled on purpose. And in some cases, that was people trying to hide, what they thought was maybe a weak vocal, or they weren't confident in their voice, and they wanted to stay in a certain range vocally. Like all of that, but like even in the middle of this is so well performed and so well executed. Everything comes out. The drums come out, the guitars come out, and the vocal performance. He's not singing this the same way all the way through. So I think another thing that people think about when they hear music, let's say in the last 15 years, where a lot of singers are singing over music that doesn't have chord progressions and changes. And so a lot of that, and sometimes their vocals don't change. But over the course of this song, as he's getting closer and closer to this breakup, you can hear like there's nuance in his voice. That's why, there's so much to love about this song. And it's like they got it so right. And they did so many little sneaky, nerdy things. And you can hear it. And if you've just heard enough music, you don't have to know the notes. You just know somebody knocked something out of the park with this. And like they knew it. They knew it when they were doing it. And maybe it just, like you said, maybe people kind of figured it out. It has been enough time has passed now that people hear this song because it's jarring even in the context of the album. That like they went for something on this specifically.
Yeah, because the rest of the album isn't like this. They went for something on this. This may be what the essence of the album is, because like I told you before, how it's not that this is straight up a breakup album, but it's definitely about like two people, they're not seeing eye to eye on something. And maybe people might go in their different directions. I mean, this is from an album where one of the lyrics is "the room is on fire and she's fixing her hair." And I don't want to be remembered. I just want to stand beside her. So it all this stuff is on there, like and just miscommunications, or men are from Mars, women from Venus, where we're talking to each other, but we're not in sync. So this isn't going to work, but I want to make it work, but it just won't. I remember someone described Julian Casablancas as he sounds like Jim Morrison singing in a Nokia phone.
Okay.
Through a Nokia phone?
Yeah.
I like how what you were describing, because the whole thing of, all right, when we come out, we're going to make it sound like we're just being breezy. But then when you stop and you really listen to the intricacies of what they're doing, it's a lot of complications. But they are going for, oh no, this is very easy to do. And it reminds me of Nirvana, because Nirvana would do the same thing as far as we're making it seem like we don't really try that hard. But when you really listen to this and then you listen to the lyrics, like, no, a lot of thought was put into this.
Right. And who knows what it took them to get this together. Sometimes when you hit a real good roll, maybe it just all kind of comes to you and it comes out in a stream of consciousness, because you're playing. And I've listening to some of his interviews and the group's interviews, it's like, yeah, getting out there and playing is how you come up with songs. And you've heard that from a lot of different bands that say, hey man, if we didn't go out live, number one, our playing wouldn't sound the way it sounds on the album, and we wouldn't come up with things to say. Because in some cases, you're performing those songs so many times, you think, man, we should have done this, we should have done that. When we do our next album, we're going to do more of this, less of that. And you just kind of learn as you play. And you see how people react to your music, react to your songs, certain lyrics. Like I always tell people, like, I would be the worst superstar ever, right? Because it's like, man, if I go in a room with something that I created and start singing it, and I look around and there's people in the crowd like hugging themselves, singing along, like getting excited, like matching up with every word that comes out of my mouth, every ad lib, every background vocal and they know it all, I don't know if I'm the right type of person to be able to just let that slide and not let that go to my head, or not like create some pressure for myself to say, man, I got to be able to do this every time. So it's like, I know even if you don't let it get to you totally, that's got to be a trip to be standing on that stage and look out, especially once you grow as an artist. Like if you start off with small crowds and get bigger crowds, and you never even have to get to the point of stadiums or arenas or anything, but just going from singing by yourself almost with your friends in the crowd to having a few hundred, or heaven forbid a few thousand in some place, man, and they all know your stuff, man, that's got to be crazy.
Yes. Okay. So the landscape, because even though this is a second album, this was still a thing. Talking about like, well, what was this record kind of created in? So when we're in the late 90s, it's things going on, third wave emo music.
Yep.
All right. So it was a lot of like fast power pop rock. It was a lot of jumping around. There was a lot of emoting, high pitched voices.
Yep.
Harmonies, all this stuff. So, and then you also had Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, Korn, that kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, this was a rap rock, all this. So then coming out of El Paso, Texas, there was At the Drive-In, where they signed to, I believe, like Mike D record label Diamond. And they had this album, and they were supposed to be this hot thing where it's like, okay, we got a rock group. This could be like the next wave. And then they broke up immediately. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to be still with the Britney Spears, the Papa Roach, and I don't know, Limp Bizkit, or all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then when the Strokes came out, I guess the magazines, they jumped on it because like, okay, this is a breath of fresh air. And then they were totally different, where this dude's on here crooning, sound like Jim Morrison's grandson or whatever, and they're being low key and chill. Where when you look at those, Sum 41 videos and all this stuff, Blink 182, there's a lot of jumping around and acting crazy and silly. So this was like, a new cool kind of vibe, man.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a whoa, like they're reacting to, okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to go on the 180 of this. And then you get this record, because the first record was really hot, and then they were touring everywhere. And then the label, they were kind of warning like, hey, you guys, before you are forgotten, or, this popularity that you guys are having, it might run out real quick. So you should give us the second album. And they felt rushed. But I'm thinking, like, listening to these songs on this record, Room on Fire, if you had more time, could you have made this any better?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. And then sometimes your timing is so important, right? So I know I've talked about regular dude rap, and this is also early 2000s, right? And where, the guy from Chicago showed up, and he was just like, hey, I'm kind of a regular dude. I spend too much money on clothes, and I want people to like me. And, I'm just kind of here. And I like a lot of stuff. I like the popular stuff. I like Tribe. I like all these other things as a rapper. And I'm just like a regular dude rapping about regular dude stuff. Like, I almost hear the Strokes is almost like regular dude indie rock. Like, hey, I'm not trying to be anything other than what we are. We think we're good. Like you say, we think we're a good little band, but we're not trying to sell 50 million copies. We're not trying to be anything other than just this. We're from New York. We got a really good idea of what we think we want to sound like, or either we're going to pretend we do, and this is what you're getting. And you're going to get 30 minutes of this, and that's what we got for you. And either you like it or you don't. And it's crazy to think how expectations and people putting a whole genre on your back. It's funny to think about that in a hip hop context. But it's crazy to think that it also happens in other genres of music too, because people are constantly looking for quote unquote the next thing to jump on. Like, that didn't start with the internet, right? It's just the internet magnifies all of those feelings. But the Strokes clearly were going through that from the beginning, right? Because they had an EP before Is This It, right?
So they had an EP with called The Modern Age.
Yeah.
And that was definitely like, you really got to, we always use the word context. You really got to know the context of like the landscape of music at that time, where I probably would have heard the song and went, what's this? Like, I don't want to listen to this. I want to listen to people harmonizing and pop vocals, and I want to listen to Talib Kweli or whatever. What is this? But these record labels, they're like, oh, you know what? This could be a new wave, because they're on Rough Trade. That's a English, some record label from England. And there was a bidding war over it, and RCA won. But on there was The Modern Age, not the version that you hear on the album. And I believe Last Night was on there as well.
Yeah.
And then that kick started like, okay, you know what? Yeah, let's give you some money, go make an album. And I think, too, they weren't happy with how they were doing it, as far as like, why are you guys making kind of like this? You're in a crummy hotel making an album. Like, hey, you got to put some production on this, dude. We got to put this on the radio. So the fact that they even won that battle to get it out, that's probably why they went to RCA. Maybe they had more creative control out of all the people bidding on them. So, yeah. And they were the ones where it was like, okay, I see what these guys are doing, this kind of indie vibe rock thing, garage rock 70s revival. And then boom, other people start doing it to a more umph degree. And it's kind of like when you're that first one through the door, you don't really get all the spoils of it. And everyone went through. But much like Wu-Tang Clan and some other folks, where in the end, like Austin, Texas is going to have Austin City Limits. They're one of the headliners there. So it's kind of like now they're this band where it's kind of like a brand, a steady product that, okay, they have like this loyal following. If we do a festival in Chicago, their folks will come out, bam, they'll pay for some stuff. So now they do the festival thing. They rarely do their own shows.
Huh.
Like they'll go to Korea, South Korea, perform something there. They'll go to Europe, perform some things, but like, hey, in the United States, we're going to do like this 50 show tour thing. They don't usually do that. They just hit up all the festivals. And really, from a monetary standpoint, when the festival thing got big, like in like 2009, 2010, 2011, where everyone's going to Coachella and all that, that's what really kept them a band. I think if that didn't end up being a thing, they would have broken up. But I think they are being thrown so much money, and, they're getting older, they have children, they got to take care of them. And with festivals, it's, hey, we show up. If the sound doesn't work or something messes up, it's on the festival, it's not on us, and bam, we're out of here.
Right. And you don't have to pay, and especially their approach is
these
perfect,
five dudes met each other as children and wrote some songs when they were like 19, 18, 20 years old, and now they're a band of brothers stuck together making albums. And then during the pandemic, when they came out with the New Abnormal, they won a Grammy for Best Rock Album, where I'm going to mention this a lot. They definitely could have like broken up before 2011 even happened. Maybe after that third album. The third album's called First Impressions of Earth. I love it, but then some people thought they turned left, it's always trips me out when they're like, oh, we didn't think that was that successful. Like, are you crazy? This thing's awesome. But, oh well.
Right, that happens.
Final thoughts about this one, Arthur?
Man,
yeah, it always happens where it's like, no, dude, listen, you don't want to talk about Hudson Hawk. Hudson Hawk freaking rocks, man.
Yeah, I think almost it becomes popular to people want to decide what you are, right? They want to define you. They want to box you up. They want to say, you're this type of rock. You gave me this. Therefore, now you can't win, right? Because if you make the same album over and over again, people can all of a sudden start yawning on you and saying, well, when are you going to do something else? And then if you do anything that sounds like something else, then people could have the opportunity to say, well, now you're not giving me the right feeling. Or like you described, once you do something, some other people come in and say, oh, yeah, we're finna stand on your shoulders and then get a further view away because we're going to arena rock this, or we're going to make hits out of this, or we're going to get the nice drums. We're going to get the full speaker setup. We're going to use modern technology, and we're just going to make your songs and hi-fi your songs. And we're just going to do it. And we're going to make weirder videos, and we're going to kill this thing. And then if you're a group like the Strokes, you're like, crap, did we mess up? Did we need to gloss up sooner? Or we got so much resources now. How do we not use them at all? Even though we're supposed to be this lo-fi band. Well, how are we going to do that after we've done so well? Maybe we need to gloss this up. And then now you kind of have a problem of how you're going to continue to function, right? But final thoughts on this. This thing's the jam, man. I mean, you're a young darling for now, but not for long. Under control. Woo! That's some good writing, man. Some really good writing.
I just want to watch you go by.
I just want to know you're all right.
I don't want to change the world.
Yes.
I don't want to change your mind. I don't want to change the world.
I just want to watch it go by.
I don't know what else they can do, man.
I just want to watch you go by. We don't have no control. We're under control. We don't have no control. We're out of control. Like, you could talk about that for 20 more minutes.
Ready doing the transition with the drums.
Yes.
Yeah. Just I like just the way the drums transition to the next verse.
Yes.
Man, the pausing. Albert Hammond Jr. guitar solo. Like, come on. I mean, what else? Come on, guys.
What do you want?
Just go listen to it.
Please go listen to it. I don't want to give it to you your way. Oh,
yeah. I don't want to give it to you your way.
It's so good.
I don't want to see it your way.
Oh.
Wow. And by saying these words, that's part of the problem. And that's why we're out of control.
We're out of control.
We're under control. We're under control to our own vices. Like, I'm under control to my programming, and I want to unlearn and get out of this, keep this relationship going, but I can't because I'm under control. So this relationship probably is not going to work.
Yep. It's not going to work.
So
we're under control of different things.
So yeah, guys, The Strokes, 5-piece band from Manhattan. Under Control is the record. Go check it out again. And when we come back, Arthur and I, we're going to talk about what he put on the record to keep this New York Mets theme going. Catch you on the other side.
Dr. Fate,
Dr. Midnight,
Starman,
Johnny Quick,
Wildcat,
Power Girl,
the All-Star Squadron,
Firebrand,
Amazing Man,
Huntress, Cyclone,
Sandman,
Mr. Terrific,
Commander Steel,
Seven Soldiers of
Liberty Bell,
Infinity Incorporated.
Those are just some of the celebrated and beloved heroes associated with Earth 2 and the Justice Society of America.
These daring mystery men and women banded together in 1940 to form the first super team in comics.
They inspired a decades-long legacy of heroes who would follow in their footsteps, and now they've inspired us to launch a new podcast.
Justice Society presents a new anthology on the Fire and Water Podcast Network featuring a variety of theme shows with different hosts celebrating some of their favorite comics and characters associated with the Golden Age of Comics, Earth 2, the JSA, and beyond.
Join the fight for justice and subscribe to Justice Society Presents on the Fire and Water Podcast Network.
Welcome back to On the Record Jams, episode 14, brought to you by the Right On Network. Arthur and AJ are here with you. So, Arthur, what are you putting on the record?
I'm just going to talk about the Strokes for 30 more minutes and Under Control. Is that all right with you? No, just playing. I have another record that I'm putting on the record. It's going to be...
We got to leave the island of Manhattan.
Yeah.
And we got to go to Queens.
We got to go to Queens. That's a spoiler there. But, yeah, this is Nas. And when you decide to bring up Nas, you could go a lot of places, but I'm going to 2021, the second of the 6 albums he put together with Hit Boy. 6 albums. Ridiculous. And the song is Pressure. So it's the intro to the second album, King's Disease 2. This is August 2021. So this is kind of like mid-pandemic, post-pandemic, depending on where you live. People are already kind of back outside, you know. But I think here in this town, we were already kind of back outside, but it was still kind of an odd, weird time. And yeah, I really, really like this record, man. Before I go on and on about it, you heard this record at the time or after the fact?
Again?
Did you hear this record like at the time it came out or after the fact?
After the fact.
Okay.
After the fact, I just have the first album. So when you brought this to the record, I was like, okay, let me check this out.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, Nas is on my short list of if this person comes out with an album, I'm going to listen to it within, no more than a couple of weeks, especially now with the streaming services, and you could just kind of roll over and hit a couple clicks, and 30 seconds later, you got the whole album. And so it's like, okay, the next time I go to the gym, this is what I'm going to play or whatever. I'm going to take a long walk, or next time I got to drive more than 20 minutes, I'm going to throw this on and see what happens. And yeah, Nas is on that list. So, and plus I was intrigued by these, this is maybe a good thing to talk about when these artists, especially rappers, when they get one producer, and whether there's a reason why they're doing it, because their kids play in a little league together, or hey, they always said they wanted to do something and they finally did it, or they made one song together 10 years ago and everybody said, keep doing it. You need to do that again. And I really like that universe where artists can sit down with a real producer, not just a beat maker, but like somebody that's going to sit with you, make albums, give you things to challenge you as an artist, as a rapper, and really just get as much out of you as possible. And it seemed, I wouldn't have never guessed that Hit Boy would have been the right person for Nas, but it worked out. And that's putting it mildly. I mean, these people made 6 albums in, 3 or 4 years together. So this was one of these cases where it wasn't too much of a good thing, man. There's good songs all throughout those 6 albums. I was telling you before we started, I'm a playlist maker at heart. So you give me 6 albums, of course, I'm going to jumble it up. I'm going to play around with it. I'm going to put things in different orders. I'm going to make my own little thing of it. And that's what I did, man. So it's, I have such a good time with so many of these songs from that, what they put out. And I went in on Pressure because it kind of gives me an opportunity to talk about how rappers work. You think about the King's Disease 2 is Nas's 13th album. And for artists from the 90s, that's a lot of albums, regardless of the genre, but certainly in hip hop, even if guys were making albums every year for a while, some of those guys don't have 13 albums. And you think Nas made 4 albums with Hit Boy after this album. That's a lot of music, man. That's a lot of talking. That's a lot of metaphors. That's a lot of multi-syllables. You can't accidentally end up with that. I mean, and Nas is just one of the greatest, man. So it was great for him to come back, because I know I had gotten to the point with him where I thought he may have been just gone for good, right? Maybe he would show up and do an EP here or there, and that was kind of it. But man, for him to get these 6 albums out, I had a really good time with him. And Pressure was really fun to think about, the idea of a guy that had made it that far. You're talking about a guy in his upper 40s, so he's a couple years older than us. But for him to have a song where it's the pressure weigh a ton is getting too heavy, had to aspire him again like I didn't already. The real ones are still around, release the confetti, Godson's across the belly. And it's man, you're feeling pressure. please explain, right? Like, how do you feel pressure when you're Nas? It's 2021. You've already got 12 albums. You've already got 11 albums before you even do any of these Hit Boy albums. Like, what does pressure feel like or sound like, or what is that even about, for a person in his situation at that point in his life? Well, you ask those questions as a listener or as a fan, and what do you know, Nas goes on to answer that question throughout the verses. So I really enjoyed that song from a narrative standpoint, and just from this is a good beat. This guy's rapping. And yeah, Hit Boy laced this guy. Like, he set this guy up to just knock it out. And, I think over the drier part of Nas's history, a big part of the conversation would be like, man, Nas doesn't pick the right beats. Man, he needs a producer to kind of settle him in, because if not, he'll get all over the place. He's a great rapper, but he needs to be settled in. And you hear that from other genres and other artists as well. I mean, I remember talking to you earlier in the early episodes about producers having to like get the best out of a Marvin Gaye, let's say. Like, you need a certain amount of structure to get the best out of what that artist is capable of doing. You need somebody that understands record making, understands even in some cases just the human relationships of getting that artist in the right mood to get that music together. And for whatever reason, Hit Boy and Nas, like, Hit Boy got with Nas, said the right thing to him, and man, got these albums cranked out, man. So it's a blast, man. What do you think about this Pressure record?
I like what it's talking about because, all right, so Nas isn't just any rapper. Nas is someone where if people talk about top 5, he might be mentioned in top 5, if not number 1. So he's at a status now where, of course, he doesn't need to make another record again. Because I imagine someone in his status where making a record might put you in the red. So he's doing this because, hey, still hungry. So because I have that pressure of, well, I'm in a lot of top 5 lists, I can't come out and stutter step. Like, this can't be a failure. It has to be like, wait a minute, now it's coming out with another album. Why? And then I have to make sure my pen is sharp. I got to make sure that what I'm talking about isn't outside of my wheelhouse as far as like, wait a minute, hold on. That's something like a 23-year-old would do. You're talking about that now? So like, he has to, and he has a business. He's a businessman. He has all these franchises. So it's all of that pressure of, when I release this album, will Arthur be impressed?
Yes.
So when you listen to these stanzas, right? Yeah. And Arthur is impressed. I'm impressed. And the thing is, like, this guy is the winner, but he gets away with a lot to me because his voice sounds like the people's champ. He sounds like the working class hero. So it'll always seem kind of like real, genuine. It'll sound more, I don't know, just even though he's not the underdog because of his raspy voice and what he chooses to do as far as like rhyming, he seems like the people's champ. Something that's always interesting about when you return the Nas is like, okay, like when you listen to Cameron, he's doing these double entendres and punchlines and all this stuff. And like a lot of rappers will do that. And when you listen to Nas, he's not really trying to crack jokes, right? Like, and he's really not even doing these, hey, that was clever, right? He's painting these pictures and he's talking about these ideas. So like with this record, Pressure, it's not just a whole bunch of clever, non sequiturs, which I love.
As do I.
I love that.
Yes.
But here, this is a true sit down record where like each stanza, like this whole thing is like he's talking about, like, especially he's talking about things that are important to him. And the point of the song too is like, out of this pressure comes a diamond. So it was worth it.
Right. I agree.
You're searching for qualities that I'm already blessed with.
Yes. My main statement is this whole game is triangulated. Like,
Yeah.
you know, correctional facilities never do it correctly. Like, hey, I feel the pressure. Like, I'm around people who go to jail and I know they don't come out better. Like, I feel the pressure of that. I invest in education because we wasn't privy. We got busy, put scholarship programs throughout the city. Like, I had the resources to do something about the things I complained about on my records. And now I'm coming back on the other side of that to say, look, I did the best. I feel pressure to get this right. And these are the things that I've done to try to help. I ain't made it till we can all say that we made it. Like that whole survivor's guilt concept. We talked about that a little bit when we talked about Kendrick Lamar. Like it's this constant theme of, yeah, I did all right, but hey, I got people around me who may not have. And again, I have resources now. What do I do with these resources to try to help people around me or people who were like me, people who maybe they just don't rap as good as I do. Maybe they weren't as lucky as I was. Maybe they didn't have the household that I have. Maybe they just didn't get the beat from Primo, you know? They didn't know Q-Tip. They didn't have, Pete Rock. Like they made a bunch of stuff and they went away and then they made some decisions and maybe things didn't go right for them. Like he's old enough and has been around enough to see all of that and be like, man, like you would think you'd be like, man, I'm glad I made it and that's kind of it. But he's laying out this story of like, yeah, I made it, but I know a bunch of people that didn't. And I got kids and I'm looking around in this world and trying to, make my mark. I used to think it was just about having stuff for myself, but now I'm growing up and realizing it's deeper than that. So let me see what I'm going to do. It's also funny to hear him talk about like miles on my Peloton. Cause remember during the pandemic era, like you couldn't go to the gym. So everybody started buying those expensive bikes.
Yes.
And he brings that up kind of as a time capsule. Like everybody's got that. Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. This is released in 2021.
Yeah.
Guys, sorry about that. It's kind of storming by us, so we're kind of lagging as far as the recording. But this was released in 2021 during the pandemic. Yeah, you would mention this.
Right. He's like, dude, I'm still trying to do the best
Arthur,
I can.
There's this one stanza, I ain't made it. Yeah. I ain't made it till we can say that we made it. Been down with the hustle so long, feel like we're related. He said, I've been down with the hustle so long, I feel like we're family, we're related. Take my word like you would from the book of Revelations. Dead presidents that come when you're dedicated. And, dead presidents, dollar bills, also dead presidents, one of his first records, right?
Well, of course. I mean, he had in the great line that Jay-Z took, right, for Dead Presidents. He had that line in The World Is Yours, right? I'm out for presidents
Correct.
to represent me.
Get money. I invest in education because we wasn't so privy. We got busy, put scholarships programs throughout the city. Hefe did it my way, chairman of the committee. Rat Pack like Sinatra in the 60s. So it's interesting, we have Jay-Z on the cover of Blueprint back in 2001, where it looks like he's like chairman of the board with the cigar, Frank Sinatra. We have this Hova Hefe the boss, chairman of the board. That's what they would call Frank Sinatra. And what I find interesting about this is, so we're men of a certain age. You rewind the clocks back, let's say 40 years, and I'm watching not Leave the Beaver, but I'm watching like Give Me a Break. They'll make a Frank Sinatra reference.
Yes, they will.
Let's say I'm watching Kate and Allie. Yeah, I'm watching Kate and Allie, a Frank Sinatra reference. Like, you just heard Frank Sinatra. Now, when you move that scale over, those references that would be made a lot, those references don't get made as much. Michael Jackson, we still hear people say things about Michael Jackson, but even Elvis, in episode Saved by the Bell, Elvis was part of the plot of one of the episodes. The mom had an Elvis cookie jar. They broke it. The parents weren't there because they went to Graceland for Elvis. Now, in 2025, Elvis being just the plot of some kid show, not going to happen.
Nope.
So just the fact that now we have this seasoned vet MC from Queensbridge, Nas, and he makes a couple of lines talking about like he's chairman of the committee now. Because remember, he's over doing mass appeal. He's in tech. He is the master of his craft. So he can say that about himself that, yeah, Rat Pack, chairman of the committee. Like Sinatra in the 60s. He can make these lines because remember Nas's whole charm back when he was 18, 19, 20 years old was, hey, I'm this young, wise old man and I'm sitting here observing stuff and I'm giving you these street tales. Now he's way older and he can really go, yes, I've taken this all in and let me give you these observations because to me, Nas and Bob Dylan, they're the same. Where you never know what you might get out of them, but when you get the boom, it's so worth it. It's like, you know what? Nas is coming out with another release. I want to see what he's going to say.
I get it. That makes sense.
I want to see what he's going to say this time. Like, what couplets are he's going to put together this time?
Right. Because you're right. He's not a punchline joke, take it out of context rapper. He's kind of one of my type of rappers, right? He's a context dependent rapper. Like some of these things make more sense if you've kind of been with him on the ride the whole time. You kind of understand like he's feeling like, hey, I'm saying these things and I earned the right to say these things. I've got the kind of the blood, sweat, and tears to be able to say, hey, I worked for this. I came through undesirable situations to land here. And now I'm still here to speak on it and be able to come back to you with some observations. So that's the type of rap I really, really love. It's not the only kind because I like my jokes and my punchlines. I like my club jams too, but
I love them too.
But yeah, I like this. I really, really like this. And again, to be doing this on your 13th album, this is crazy to me.
Hasn't lost a step, still has his fastball. And like you said, like, because I have King of Disease 1, you have the ones post this. This guy, man, body of work. Woo.
I mean, he's got a body of work in the last 5 years. I mean, he's got 6 albums with one producer. It's unreal.
And the voice, like he's a vocalist. This guy's a lyricist and a vocalist.
Yes, he is, man. So,
and he definitely keep people on their toes. Like other MCs where when he comes out, they got to listen to it. Like, okay, what is he going to say this time? What can I take from this? Or how can I compare myself? Do I still got it?
And
we're in a good time as far as hip hop, Arthur, because yeah,
you're right. Because you got these rappers who had enough time to kind of sit with their prime work and they're thinking like, can I do this again? And then like, as soon as they can, like before they can finish that thought, somebody's calling them saying, hey, I heard you want to rap again. I'll come to your house. You can come to my house. You could fly over here. And we could talk about how you want to make an album and we could figure out what it's going to be. And we'll get somebody to give us some money for it because now there's a whole market for this type of rap.
I saw Nas live in performance about 2 years ago with the Wu-Tang Clan and Busta Rhymes. And out of all that, I mean, think about Wu-Tang Clan and Busta Rhymes. I felt like Nas was the livest one out of them.
Wow. That's saying something. But, you know, he's probably taking care of himself.
Nas still has something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nas still has something to say, y'all.
He slowed down a bit and probably had no choice. And I'm guessing the pandemic is part of the reason we got all these albums, right?
Arthur, can you give us some history also on Hit Boy?
Man, Hit Boy has been, you know, he's been an engineer. He's been producing a lot of things. He's younger than us, though. So he's more like upper 30s instead of being like mid 40s. But yeah, I mean, he's got credits all the way back to 2003. So he's been around for a really, really, really long time, man. So it's kind of hard to understate how many different things he's done. And this is just the thing. I mean, you know, he did the whole album here recently, 5 years ago. He did the album with Benny the Butcher as well. So in between all those albums with Nas, he had the Benny the Butcher album, which was kind of to bring Benny to a slightly wider group. And so Hit Boy, she has he's got a background all the way back to Jay-Z and Kanye as well. So like he's got a lot of visibility, and he's been around for a really long time. So, and he also raps too. So, and not a bad rapper at all either. So I would love to know what conversation he had. Like, how did he go talk to Nas and say, dude, let's do these albums, and we don't have to say how many we're doing. We're just gonna get some stuff together and see how we do, and just get it to work.
And how did this project come together as far as Hit Boy and Nas sitting down and making multiple albums in a short period of time?
I mean, my understanding is they had the King Disease idea, and then from there, when they would work on things that didn't fit King's Disease, they created the Magic series. So basically, they made 2 different series of albums. They had the King Disease albums. They ended up making 3. And they had the Magic albums, and they ended up making 3 of those as well.
Final thoughts about Nas, Pressure, off the 2021 King Disease 2 album.
Man, it's one of the good times in the middle of this 6-album set. I think if you haven't heard all 6 of these, I think you should. I think you should just hit play on all 6 of them in a row, in order, and just listen to Nas lose his mind. And listen to Hit Boy like try to lace him as best he could for 6 albums. Like, that had to be a challenge for Hit Boy too, because you got Nas sitting in your room saying, hey, I'm ready to make these albums with you. I'm ready to do whatever you want to do. Help me out. Let's go. And for whatever reason, Nas couldn't seem to figure out how to do this with hardly anybody. He did an album with No ID quite a long time ago, but like one producer albums, I can imagine is a gift and a curse, right? Because it's just you and that person from both sides. From the producer, you're throwing beats out, and you know that rejection is real, right? Like, if you're a producer in a rap universe, you're throwing people beats, and then you're looking at his face and you're trying to get somebody excited enough to write something. Like, that's got to be a tough thing. And then as the artist, you feel like, especially if there's a group of people, right? There's a group of people in the room. Everybody's nodding their head. You're the rapper. People are looking at you like, hey, man, are you really going to act like you can't write to this? Are you going to act like you can't put something together to this? Do we need to call somebody else? What's up? Because these are good beats. Let's go. So for them to get that all together is a hell of an accomplishment, especially to be able to do that many albums in 4 years, right? It's just great.
And on this album, we have an EPMD Eminem record.
Yeah, we do.
What else can you ask for?
People keep on asking for stuff. They say, how come you didn't finish that Primo album yet?
I was going to ask that, actually.
It's this year. It's supposed to be this year. Okay. Yeah.
I'll definitely put it on the record.
Yeah.
I'll definitely put it on the record because I'm excited about that. But not before I listen to the rest of this Hit Boy, this Magic King Disease series, Arthur. I'm going to get on it.
Please do. You'll enjoy it.
Just like, hey, I did that thing where I was like, let me just listen to all of Q-Tip and Tribe Called Quest. That was a fun journey. So, Arthur, how can they get a hold of us? Because I don't think we're done talking about this Under Control and Pressure records. How can they get a hold of us?
Yeah, so on the record jams at gmail.com. We got on the record jams on X. We have otrj at Bluesky. And we have the On the Record Jams Facebook page as well. So all those different things are ways for people to get in touch with us and, you know, keep the conversation going. Because, I mean, I think in this time we really knocked it out of the park with these things we put on the record. So 2 very different records from 2 New Yorkers, 2 Mets fans, 2 groups of Nets fans. But it's a lot more to get into that we didn't cover.
Yeah, so, hey, check us out. Keep the conversation going. Hey, hit us up if you want to talk to us on the Discord. Hit us up at On The Record Jams. I'll send you a link. And I'm going to go and take off this Darryl Strawberry jersey and keep your lamplight trimmed and burning.
Keep jamming.